3 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Along with Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. My goodness, as we all continue to follow the Gamecock baseball head coaching search, information swirls all over the place. Rumor and innuendo. Confirmed Joe Torre, Bobby Cox, not going to be the next head coach of the Gamecocks.
I was told Connie Mack is not available.
Connie Mack is out. Yeah. Casey Stengel, no longer available.
Earl Weaver's not returning any of my texts. Don't know why.
Yeah.
But they're not being returned.
So, anyway, listen, I will say, I told Elijah, and I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. That's not why I'm getting ready to tell you what I'm going to tell you. But it's crazy to follow these things the way we do and to talk with people that we know have information that's solid, and yet it all leads me to one big thing. Coach Tanner has got this one as close to the vest as possible, and that's good.
Fort Knox like security. I think on some of this stuff.
I think you want that. Some of you may go, I don't know if I do want that, Jay. I understand, but at the same time, I believe it to be a good thing. David Cloninger, like a lot of us, has been working the phones, the texts, the emails over the week, and David, kind enough, I don't know how many times, I've known David a long time now. I don't know how many times in our respective careers that he has been on my show twice in the same week, but I doubt this is the first time, but I can't honestly document it. I doubt he's going to remember. We'll ask him if he can think of a time when he was on our show twice in a week. Maybe other than like a media days type of thing, where he's around, but for something like this. But he continues to actively work his sources for information, so we'll see what David has been learning. I know there was a report, Elijah, you sent this. I guess the 24/7 ECU site seems to believe that it's not going to be Cliff Godwin, and yet there are others I have said that, Cliff has kind of gone silent and maybe there is contact. I'm certain there's been contact.
Oh, the contact has been there. I think we can, without being directly told that there's been contact, I think we can, piece together that the discussions have been had.
Yeah.
The discussions between Godwin and the University of South Carolina have been had. Now, to what success the discussions have been had, I think you and I have gotten some contradictory information on that.
Today, it's funny. Today, I thought we might be getting closer, and today may be a classic example of the one step forward, two steps back, type scenario. Mm-hmm. Where you feel like the field and the focus are narrowing just a bit. I told you, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Everything's been going along swimmingly. We're following the yellow brick road, and we know we're getting closer because they told you to follow the road. But then all of a sudden, man, that road gets a little gloomy, a little dark, a little concerning. And I feel like that's kind of what happened today. So whether that's, again, the same one step forward, two steps back, or just, the darkest hours before dawn kind of a thing, whatever you want to place on it, it feels like we might be there. Again, are there people still active this weekend that Ray Tanner would like to speak with? I don't know. I know a lot of you are asking that. Now, I will say our good friend John Whittle, I'm not placing this on John in a negative way because, again, John's doing the best he can like we all are. But John told us on Wednesday he didn't believe that to be the case. But, you don't know that either. And it did feel from the early indications like the main targets for South Carolina's baseball job had already seen their seasons end. But like I say, maybe like a lot of things in life, I know we do it when we interview people. Sometimes you might have an idea of what it is that you want to ask or what the conversation is going to be about, but then one of the answers that you get from the person you're interviewing leads you down a completely different road. Maybe some of the things that Ray is hearing, and again, this is just me hypothesizing. I'm not giving you anything that I've learned. may say, oh, maybe he's talked with an agent who says, well, my other client might actually. Again, I don't know this to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So we shall see. You don't want it to drag out, but if there is somebody still playing, even if you are speaking with their agent, a good agent isn't going to call their guy, the night before a big game. Hey, by the way, I know you're prepping your pitching matchup and you're working on the lineup and scouting report, but I need you to stop. So, they're not doing that.
Yes or no to South Carolina?
The job is still the job. And you need to get to Omaha. And right now, again, everybody that wins this weekend is going to Omaha. Fact. There are 8 series. And the 8 series winners will be going to the College World Series.
Yep. The only way you win this weekend and don't make it to Omaha is if you took the wrong plane.
Yeah, that'd be unfortunate, wouldn't it?
That would be very unfortunate.
Yeah. I thought you said Oklahoma. No, Omaha.
There's a baseball ops director that's getting fired.
That's right. Wrong World Series. Right?
Darn.
Speaking of which, congratulations to Oklahoma. They can't be stopped, man.
They can't keep getting away with this.
They can't be stopped.
So they are. 4 straight.
Yeah. Does coming into the Southeastern Conference knock them down a little bit for a week in, week out perspective to where they maybe.
Nope.
Yeah. And let's face it, the 2 schools that just played for the national title in softball hate each other and are coming into the Southeastern Conference with each other. So the rest of the SEC is like, dadgummit.
Yeah, it got significantly harder. Out of all sports, softball might be where it got significantly harder in the SEC, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Florida pushed Oklahoma as far as they could push them.
Oh, the first team in 4 years to beat them in the Women's College World Series.
And took them to extra innings in a do-or-die game. And then a walk-off home run was it, man. So, but
that senior class has won a national championship every single year they're there. That's nuts.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool accomplishment. Even if you want to see new blood, it's not happening.
As a show, we did collectively. The post-game show was we were ABO fans for the Women's College World Series, which was anybody but Oklahoma.
Right.
But we lost.
So
we'll hold this L.
Again, David Cloninger will be with us coming up in about 20 minutes. We'll get his take on where the baseball search is. Anything new that comes along, we'll certainly pass that along to you as quickly as we can and glean through. Speaking of which, before I move on to a few other things we're going to discuss today, we've had a fun series of poll questions to lead us. It's kind of like our own mini head coaching search Twitter poll tournament.
I do love a Twitter poll tournament. And this is the first time we've really done anything like this in terms of our Twitter poll at 1075 The Game on Twitter. So today is all the winners of our previous poll, including, we did throw in there because Josh Elan and Chris Pollard was separated by like 1 or 2 votes. We did include both of them on here. So here is the final Gamecocks baseball coaching candidate poll. Out of the 4 coaches below, who would you prefer as head coach? Same premise. Chris Lemonis from Mississippi State, Cliff Godwin from ECU, Josh Elander, Tennessee assistant, or Chris Pollard from Duke. We still have 20 hours left in this thing, but there are 311 votes already. And with 43.4% of the vote, Cliff Godwin from East Carolina. Yeah. At 30.9% of the vote, Josh Elander, Tennessee assistant.
Wow.
18.3%, Chris Pollard from Duke. 7.4%, Chris Lemonis from Mississippi State, which is really surprising because Lemonis is the only name on here that has won a championship.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I find that to be very interesting.
Interesting as well. I again, it's hard to say who's voting and what their mindset is on this. It feels like the bulk of the Gamecock fan base is dare I say, demanding someone who's at least been to the College World Series, if not having won it. And Elander, I guess, has been as an assistant coach. So does that count? I guess. Pollard has not.
Godwin has not.
And Godwin has not. And he's the leader. So the 2 leaders, one's been, but as an assistant. And the other guy has yet to go.
We have at least 5 comments that say either none of these or have written in Monty Lee, which Monty Lee was eliminated in our first category on our first day of this. So that's why he is not included if you have not been keeping up through the week with our poll at 1075 The Game. So there are a few others that say none of those, but with some of the options that have been, I guess, suggested in the comment section, none of them have the same thing that Chris Lemonis has, which is a national champion.
Yeah, it just, again, for Monty, like as we've said a whole bunch of times, Monty's a great dude, and Monty can coach baseball. And yes, he knows the program and the city and all those kinds of things, but feels like he's the fallback candidate, the guy that will say yes to you, but you're going to exhaust every other option. And in some cases, you may make somebody say no twice. Who knows? Again, how high can Carolina go? Where in this process do finances become, more than a speed bump and instead a brick wall? I don't know. Yeah, again, everybody has financial limitations.
Correct, unless you're like Ohio State.
Yeah, yeah. Or, A&M, it seems, maybe does not for whatever reason.
Oil and Bucky's money.
And ask yourself what it's getting A&M.
Not much.
I mean,
the ability to fire a coach for $76 million.
Yeah, I mean.
Like, congrats, question mark?
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You have the capability of doing something that almost no athletic department in the country can do. I guess.
So we'll see what happens here in a bit. By the way, Super Regionals underway. We've got a close one in Tallahassee in the bottom of the seventh. Florida State leads Connecticut 18-1.
Wow. I mean, it's a 3-possession game. All you need is 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and you're back in it.
A little while ago, it was like 5-1, and I got here, and I've been working the phones so I missed some of it. And I was like, I had to look. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, it's 18-1 in the seventh.
You only need like 4 grand slams to make this thing competitive.
Tennessee and Evansville have literally just gotten underway. Top of the first, Evansville is hitting in Knoxville at beautiful, quaint Lindsey Nelson Field. Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
Stadium, yeah.
Not field. Lindsey Nelson Stadium. All right. I want to come back. We're not going to stay with baseball right now. Again, David's coming up in a bit. I want to come back on the other side of the break, because a major announcement was made by the NCAA yesterday, and had some fun with y'all on Twitter with it last night. A couple of you hate it. Most of you, I think, are understanding of what this is. But suffice to say, new revenue streams are a must in college athletics. We'll tell you about the first one and see if it opens the door to more. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. David Cloninger coming up in just a little bit to give us more of what he's learning about the Carolina baseball search. Speaking of baseball, FSU now up 21-1 on Connecticut. Game one of their super regional in Tallahassee, and Blake Burke has just hit a solo shot for Tennessee. They are up 1-0, bottom one out, as the Vols take on the Purple Aces of Evansville, who pulled the upset in Greenville, North Carolina last weekend. All right, we'll get back into the baseball search in just a little bit, but I had some fun with you. Again, a couple of you did not think it was as fun. Not so much to me directly. One guy said gross. Just, doesn't like the capitalism that's involved in today's college football or college athletics world. But like it or not, y'all, I'm just going to go. I'm not telling you. It's here, okay? I don't like paying taxes. You got to pay taxes. If you don't like that there are more corporate sponsorships and logos and whatever coming to college athletics, I get it. You're free to feel how you want to feel, but I'm telling you that you being upset about it isn't going to make it go away. It's here. It's here. It's staying. It's growing. I don't know what it ultimately looks like, but yesterday, the NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel approved a recommendation from the Football Rules Committee. The rule allows, I'm going to read verbatim here from the report from Heather Dinich. The rule allows for corporate advertisements to be placed in 3 spots on the field. And this is a football field for now, but it's coming to something else near you soon. A single advertisement centered on the 50-yard line, along with no more than 2 smaller flanking advertisements elsewhere on the field. It can be done on a by-game basis or for the entire season. Now, let's talk about this for a second. For one, I'm going to let y'all know, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm for this. But I do have my own limitations on what I think is good for this. I don't want to see this I'm just going to use Williams-Brice. But, insert field here for any school that you may pull for if it's not Carolina. I don't want to see it at the 50. I like the block C. If you're a Clemson fan, you like the Tiger Paw. And whatever other, the
School
power
logos belong on the 50.
The power G, whatever, But as I said to you last week, when we thought this was going to be put up for a vote, and we felt it would be approved at Williams-Brice and at most SEC ballparks, if not all right, they got around the 30. They've got the SEC logo. Now, either that SEC logo is replaced with some type of sponsorship logo, or since there's 2 of them, then on the same 30-yard line, but on the opposite points where there is nothing right now, you put the sponsorship logo. Because that's the only places they've been approved. So can you put them? Eventually, I think they go on to the pylons. Maybe even a sponsorship in an end zone. I don't know. For now, again, what's been approved is the 50 and 2 spots somewhere else on the field. Again, I'm for this. I'm also for like shoulder patches, and I'm for helmet stickers. You don't want them gaudy. I want a helmet sticker on the back of a helmet, baseball helmet too, for what it's worth. Again, shoulder patches. I'm for this in basketball, like they do in the NBA, kind of on the tank top right there near the chest. This is coming. Again, I realize some of you are like, ugh. Again, one guy said gross because it's not what we're used to. But we're also not used to some of the things that are going to be coming down the pike. And we're also not really used to finally learning, for all of us that love college athletics, and really coming to grips with the truth that for decade upon decade upon decade, those that were running college athletics were breaking federal law. And this is the overcorrection point.
I don't know if it's an overcorrection. I think it's just a correction. Yeah, just because you have to make up that money somewhere because you got sued, and you're having to pay off a settlement that is worth it's a pretty hectic or pretty hefty sum.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, that's where we're at. It's necessary. And for like when the NBA started doing this and the MLB and, other professional sports started putting, the occasional, I guess, corporate badge on a jersey, I despised it. I was the same way. My first thought was gross. This is terrible. It's grown on me. It's at the point now where, I didn't realize the Celtics jersey had a Vistaprint logo on it until I really noticed it, until I really thought to notice it last night. Because I was watching the game last night and I was like, wait a minute, what is the Celtics jersey, sponsor now? Vistaprint.
Used to be GE, right?
Used to be GE.
Yeah.
And look, the Mavericks is Chime. I would have never remembered that if I didn't last night make a cognizant
Is that one of those doorbells?
That's what a sound the doorbell makes, actually. The sound actually has its own company and has been selling spaces or buying spaces on NBA jerseys.
No, I don't know. Is that what Chime is? Like Ring?
It's like a banking.
Okay.
It's like an online banking
Okay.
thing, if we're being serious.
No, I didn't know. I mean, like they have the Ring, right? Like the Ring doorbell.
Ring doorbell.
With the camera.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Ring, Chime. I just figured maybe that was like Coke, Pepsi, kind of a... just both making sound.
Oh, you're saying it's
yeah, I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. They want you to look it up. Like, there's a lot of things I'll look at there. Like, I didn't know what Rakuten was until and then I still don't really think I know what it is now, but I'm still not really sure.
It's one of those things I've had it explained to me, but I cannot regurgitate what exactly it is and what they do.
And they do the dubs, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they still do. I don't even know if
I don't know
more.
I don't know. Like, who's doing the Lakers? It doesn't matter. They're doing it, and they're making more money because that's the way of the world. I do find it interesting. And allow me, sorry, but I'm going to give a little social commentary here. I do find it interesting that so many who say, America, America, America. All right, America is the bastion of the free market on planet Earth. And yet, for some reason, a lot of people who say they love America, don't want this in college sports because, we need a break from it. Well, I mean, no, again, this is the evolution.
It costs money.
Yeah.
All of this costs money.
Yeah. You can have it. If you don't want this, are you, the average fan, ready to pony up more for all these things? Or do you want your school to come up with new sources of revenue to pay for these things? Because, again, I know what you're saying. No, I want option C. I don't like this. Tough. Because it's here. Again, some of you are saying, then I'm just not going to watch anymore. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Again, America. You're free to not watch. But I'm here to tell you right now, with 100% certainty, complaining about it to us, to them, to whomever, is not going to change it.
Or saying that this is going to kill the sport actually is factually incorrect.
No, it's not.
Because viewership has only gone up since NIL. And transfer portal.
Jay Billis has been, I guess, bombarded with some of that of late, and he's like, yeah, I don't know where you're getting any of that from. Everything's fine.
And they're making more money now than they ever have, which has kind of been the reason why we're going to court over this, and we've had all the discussions we've had is because you are more profitable now than you have ever been in your history as an organization.
Well, and why do you think Disney and Fox and Comcast and CBS.
Why TNT want to get in on it.
Yeah.
Turner wanted to get in on it.
And outbid each other because it's doing very well. Not because they're hoping it's going to do well. The facts are out there. So, again, if you don't like it, that's cool. I'm not here to tell you, you should like it. But you can't have it both ways. And now I wonder, Elijah, and we'll come back around to this topic a little bit later on because we're going to be up against it here in just a second. Now, in all honesty, I think comes, dare I say, the hard part. Now you've got to figure out as a school, how much do I charge? Who sets the market? For South Carolina, your biggest home game this year is going to be against LSU, right?
Or Ole Miss.
Yeah, sort of.
There's going to be a lot of juice to that Ole Miss game. That pun was totally intended.
So do you do it by game, or do you sign a season-long thing? Even at Alabama, and I don't know, I don't have Bama's schedule in front of me, but let's just hypothetically, I think, the Alabama-Vanderbilt game, and I don't know if Vandy's going to Bama this year, but let's just say
the equivalent
is going to have less viewers than the Iron Bowl or the Tennessee game or whatever. So, is it smarter to do it on a per game basis? Or is it smarter to guarantee yourself a season's worth of money? And who comes in as the marketing company to say, all right, Williams-Brice, you can charge, we think your fair market value is X. But Sanford Stadium, yours is Y. And the Swamp, yours is Z. I don't know. That's next. And I imagine that can get done pretty quickly. And based on how many average viewers you would get, how many fans you've got already. Some of you have said, I want it to be local people. I was also joking last night, and I'll leave you with this for now, that instead of Dave Aiken saying, that's another Carolina first down, it's going to be, there's another Lizard's Thicket first down. And,
Instead of the pick six, it's the Lizard Thicket 6.
Whatever it takes, man. That's
really funny.
That's where we are. That's where we are, like it or not. So we'll talk more about it coming up next hour. But on the other side of the break, back into the Gamecock baseball search, our good friend David Cloninger, like many of us, busy working the phones and trying to figure out what's going on and who's coming in to replace Mark Kingston. We'll see what DC has to say when the postgame show continues. If you're a homeowner looking to make some improvements around the house, want to consolidate some debt, maybe you want to take the family on a dream vacation, and you've built up some equity in your home, then take advantage of the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Home Equity Line of Credit. See, it's not a one-time lump. Instead, you can get a 10-year draw, right? So as you need it, based on the equity in your home, you can draw it out, maybe fix up the kitchen, maybe get the kids that second bathroom, redo the room over the garage, or turn the garage itself into that workspace you've always wanted. Whatever it might be, you can get it done. And again, really, for lower rates, fewer fees, lower closing costs, all with Palmetto Citizens, because they're not for profit. They can return the savings right into your pocket. Apply today at palmettocitizens.org or any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. Join my wife and me as members of Palmetto Citizens, where you can achieve your potential. Time to jump back into the Gamecock baseball coaching search. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. David Cloninger set to join us here in just a second. Now 24-3. You heard me right. It's a football score in a baseball game. Florida State leads Connecticut 24-3. Knowles hitting bottom 8. And Evansville has gone ahead of Tennessee. The Vols have already made a pitching change. Evansville 2-1, top 2 from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Keep you updated on both of those, the first 2 of 4 super regional games that will be played today. David Cloninger, kind enough to join us for the second time this week. I was mentioning to Elijah earlier, you and I have known each other for, 20-something years now. It's been a while. We're both old. Well, you are. But
You're older. You're older.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. But I can't think, other than like maybe a Media Days appearance, how many times you've been on the show twice in a week. Not that we keep tabs on that, but that's a rare occurrence.
Well, obviously, you guys, know what your ratings are, and they're ignoring it to make them better. But that's not my deal. I'm a very busy man. So, well, we can talk about all that later over, some cold, frosty beverages that you will be paying for.
Sure. There's nothing like Blue Icy to set the tone.
That's what the budget calls for.
That's right. Do we know more or less, David Cloninger, at now 3:35 on Friday than we did on Monday when we talked to you?
I would say you're probably right about the same. You do know probably some candidates that are very unlikely, but you knew that when the search started, and some candidates that are maybe likelier. But the main thing is that I'm sure you saw the story I put out an hour and a half ago now. Tom Walter from Wake Forest is maybe not as far removed from a possibility as first thought. I thought that the numbers in his contract and his buyout would be too much for South Carolina to consider, and I've been told that it's not the case. So we'll see what happens there. I haven't heard that Cliff Godwin is not on the list anymore. There's been some conflicting info on that, like, well, I hear he's out. No, I don't believe he is, and so that's kind of been going back and forth. As I said in the piece, I really don't think it would be Josh Elander, the assistant at Tennessee. Don't think it would be him because they're going to be playing for a little while. I think that Kevin O'Sullivan is probably not ever going to get a call this time around. And Dan McDonnell, I think, is probably I think I put it as the taillights are fading on that one. So we know a little bit more. Monty Lee is always there, ready to take the job if asked. But, there's other candidates that have to be vetted as well. So Tom Walter's up there, Cliff Godwin's up there, Monty Lee's up there, and there may still be a few possibilities.
Tom Walter's an interesting one for me, David, because at the beginning of the week, it felt like the buyout would have been too much, like what you said. But now, given that maybe that's not the case, what exactly, I guess, is there a range maybe of what they're willing to go up to in terms of a buyout or maybe making somebody one of the 9 highest paid coaches in the SEC?
Well, I'm not sure if there would be a limit. I mean, obviously, you're not going to go pay a guy $2 million. You're not going to make him the highest paid coach in the country if he's not somebody like, say, Tony Vitello or somebody like that, which, on the record, Tony Vitello ain't coming here. Let's just get that clear. But I think that you look at the lay of the land, and even though the 1 million mark is still pretty rare air for a college baseball coach, it's not rare in the SEC. I can think of 4 SEC coaches right now that are making that or more, and there's a couple more across the country that are making above that number. So I think if you start right there, and I believe that Tom Walter is one of them, you say, all right, I think you got to go ahead and say we're going to pay you $1 million. As for the buyout, obviously nobody wants to be writing a check for many millions of dollars. That said, there are ways to negotiate that down, as in saying, well, maybe you don't have to pay it all as a lump sum. Maybe you can just, spread it out over a few years. That's all stuff way beyond my pay grade. But I know that if it could be worked out, USC has the permission to go ahead and do it. I don't think finances is going to be as much of a burden as first thought, but there is still going to be a case of like, look, you can't just break the bank to do this. I mean, there are a lot of things coming down in college sports. You're going to have to keep an eye on the bottom line.
Talking to David Cloninger of the Post and Courier. The Gamecock baseball search continues. DC, what are you learning about – how NIL factors into this. And what I mean by this is, with Cliff Godwin, we've now seen 3 of his premier players this season already enter the portal, and it is basically known it's to go find greener pastures with NIL. One of his big stars last year left the ball club and now plays for NC State. As much as he loves his alma mater, is that factoring in from what you're gathering to his potential decisions?
I think so, Jay, and obviously Cliff Godwin is not the only coach to sound off about how much they do not like NIL and the transfer portal, and Lord knows I agree with them. But you also know that this isn't going away. This is how the game is played now, and like it or hate it, you're going to have to embrace it. That's just how things are done. So in terms of South Carolina, there's a good NIL program here for baseball. It's solid. It could be better. It could be a lot worse. But it's in a case of are you at a school where, despite your personal feelings about it, will they give you the resources to do that? So I don't know if East Carolina, being in a smaller conference, being a quote-unquote smaller school, has those kind of resources, because they do have a football team. They do have a basketball program, and you have to take care of those sports too. I'm just not sure how big their donor base is compared to South Carolina's. I'm sure USC's is bigger, but in terms of can you do it more for baseball or what have you, that's unknown. So heard a lot of stuff going around, but nothing confirmed about there'll be more NIL money to donate once USC gets a new coach in here. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, did they just not want to do it because of Mark Kingston or do something else? I mean, what's the deal here? My main concern, though, Jay, is that with the university's overall finances, there's a limit. You can't just keep going to the same place because South Carolina just does not have that kind of donor base. I think I mentioned on the show the other day, Texas A&M's NIL budget for baseball alone is $2 million a year. USC can't do that.
Right.
I mean, you just can't. You just don't have the money. And it's not a shot at the fans, okay? It's not. With the fans, you cannot give what you do not have. And if you're already paying for tickets and Gamecock Club memberships and parking fees for football and all that, that's fine if you want to do that. But it's do I have any left over to give to NIL? Maybe not. Am I going to give some more money to NIL? Okay, but then I got to sacrifice something else that I've been normally giving to the university. So there's a limit there, and you just don't have that many deep pockets that you can keep going to.
Yeah, reason 1 million as to why crowdsourcing the payroll for players is a bad idea. But, David, out of all the names we've talked about, we've already discussed, Walter and Godwin. I know you kind of maybe eliminated Elander a little bit, but I haven't necessarily heard a lot about Pollard from Duke here in the last couple of days. And that, earlier on in the search, in these 5 days that have felt like a month, seemed like that would be more of a plausibility. But what are you kind of hearing on that now? And is that somebody that maybe we can eliminate just because of the silence maybe on that front?
I don't think you can really eliminate it until he says something like, hey, I'm very set in my job here. One thing about his contract is it's rumored, or I should say reportedly, it comes with, pretty significant financial gain on your part and a buyout, but nobody knows what that is because Duke's a private school. And when they get a Freedom of Information Act request, they're like, we're Duke. We don't have to do that. So you don't really know what it is, but it is significant. So there's that hurdle to cross. And also, as much as Pollard has done, and I said this in the original hot board, the guy's entire baseball life is in North Carolina. You just don't know if he'd want to leave. And going to a harder league, maybe he does want to go. Maybe he does. But until he actually does it, it's like, I'm the guy. I'm the guy, first guy in 70 years that's done something with Duke baseball. And they're getting behind me, and we're doing well, and maybe I just want to stay here. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But he's been so radio silent on this that I actually don't know for myself that USC has even contacted him. And I've read in other places that they have, but I haven't been able to get that down for myself. I have no reason to doubt that that's not true. But it's a case of with him, I always thought from the beginning that's probably a long shot. then again, I thought Tom Walter would be a long shot too.
Yeah, and it does seem to be creeping back up. Does Walter? DC, last thing, real quick. We've been told, hey, could be coming down the pike sometime in the next little bit, and then maybe probably not till after the weekend. Are you getting any new time frame information?
I can tell you this with full authority, fellas. Right now, there's nothing to suggest that a hiring is imminent. There's nothing on that, and USC is proceeding at a normal pace. Now, they ain't going to make they're not going to have like a press conference on the weekend for sure. But could there be a lot of things that go into say, hey, we can go ahead and get this done and do it Monday or Tuesday? Sure. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Good stuff. I know you're getting right back on it. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me.
That is David Cloninger, DCPNC, to follow on Twitter, postandcourier.com, and sign up for David's newsletter. He gets a lot of stuff out there on a regular basis. You're listening to the Postgame Show. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Thanks again to our buddy David Cloninger for joining us with the latest on the coaching search. Again, nothing new to report. Yeah, I think there are, indications that the field is narrowing just a bit. And I liked your question about Chris Pollard. Yeah, it's hard to gauge. And I mentioned this at the top of the show. I think Ray has got these cards really close to the vest. Was told today that there's a deep understanding of how truly crucial this hire is for this program at this juncture, for so many reasons. First and foremost, just to restore it to some of its former glory. Secondly, the Southeastern Conference has never been better. You literally set a record for schools from one conference. Now, I realize it's an expanded conference, but they all give a crap about baseball.
It's an expanded conference for the two that are coming in.
Yeah.
Also, one hosted, and the other one is a historical power.
Yeah.
So you'll break your own record of the amount of teams that get into the tournament from the SEC probably next year.
And then in the NIL era, in the transfer era, and those things do go hand in hand. They're not always mutually exclusive, but there are often times when they are. And are you ready to handle that? So there's so many different things. And as Ryan McGee told us yesterday, or I guess Wednesday,
they've all run together.
I know, man. We've been so busy with our.
I feel like we've had a continuous 5-day show.
Yeah.
About the coaching search.
Well, and we kind of have, but we've done our best to dig with the local, the regional, the national guests, and we appreciate all of them, and we're not alone in that. I mean, we've had all kinds of people on this week on the station throughout, which is why we urge you to go to the podcast page and check out the different interviews. But what Ryan McGee said, again, comparison is the thief of joy, and his point was a lot of South Carolina fans rightly compare what they see now to what they saw at the height of the powers when the Southeastern Conference was very good, but was not what it is today. I mean, Auburn's been to a couple of World Series in the last 6 or 7 years, and they didn't make the SEC tournament this year. Mississippi and Mississippi State won national championships and followed those seasons up with misses of the NCAA tournament. It's hard. Now, that's not an excuse. It's just the reality of what has happened. And you're trying to recapture some of that. I don't know that you go back to a period where you go to the World Series 6 times in 11 seasons and play for 4 national championships. You'd like to think you can, but with the interest in baseball and the support of baseball around this conference and in the Atlantic Coast Conference and in the Big 12, with the demise, sadly, of the Pac-12.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. That's going to be a really difficult job. And, what if, as an example, because you brought this up earlier in the week, Elijah, and we don't know this to be the case. But what if Texas does make a move? What if they think that David Pierce, who's taken them to 3 World Series in 8 years, is no longer good enough as they move into the Southeastern Conference? And then who does Texas go get? Because Texas is not going to hire they're going to hire an up-and-comer if they do it, but it's going to be an up-and-comer who's actually already, really, really good.
Who's had some experience in Omaha.
Yeah, which likely means
and money will not be a factor.
That another school like that will be looking, and so just like anything else, on and on it goes. And again, I'm not here to tell you that Texas is going to do that. If I were Texas, I wouldn't be firing a guy who's been to 3 World Series in 8 years, even if he did have a 3 seed this year. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
And if I would have done it by now.
That's what I think.
I wouldn't have waited a week after you're eliminated.
That's what I think. But anyway, that's just a hypothetical example. But and the point that Elijah was making about that was right now it feels, and I'm not trying to put words back in your mouth, but I agree with you. South Carolina is a premier destination national job.
It's the biggest that's out there.
And seems to have the pick of the litter, but what's the reciprocal interest? And that's the harder part to gauge. That was something I wanted to get with David. We just didn't have time. He mentioned, well, until somebody comes out and tells you. A lot of times you may know that a coach for any given job has interviewed. And, they may even tell you sometimes, to save face or whatever. Not save face, but you know what I mean? Hey, I've withdrawn my name for consideration. Well, we don't know who's being considered. We have pretty good ideas, but the reason we don't know officially is because nobody's come out and said it, whether it's Ray Tanner or Chance Miller here at Carolina, or whether it's any of these coaches or their agents. Yeah, my guy's in the mix. I'm in the mix. So it's interesting. Keep you updated on what's going on in the Supers. Florida State did win. Whew, it's a close one.
Sweat it out.
But Tennessee and Evansville are in a close one. Get into that and more on the on-field sponsorships coming up. 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We are inside the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia, wherever you are. Appreciate you being with us. Thanks again to David Cloninger for joining us in the last half hour, talking Gamecock baseball coaching search. Nothing new to report this afternoon, unfortunately. It does feel like maybe the focus is narrowing. As David said, we know Monty Lee is, I don't know what term to place upon Monty for this. I feel like fallback option is sort of a backhanded compliment or slap or something, and I'm not here to do that.
There's not really, I guess, a polite way of saying
I don't know if
I think that's from what we've gathered, it feels like that's kind of what it is.
Yes. You're kind of waiting. You're going to exhaust all of your other avenues. And then try to figure it out. Yeah, it does feel like Tom Walter is absolutely in the mix. There have been good conversations with Cliff Godwin. Feels like maybe Dan McDonnell of Louisville is out. And as DC said, it just haven't heard a lot about Chris Pollard. On our poll today, and I want you to get to that here for us, is an assistant coach name that I think might also be kind of out of the mix.
Yeah, solely based on their position right now because he's currently in the dugout with Tennessee right now. I don't think he's been making any contact with South Carolina in the last, hour at least because they've been playing baseball. But this is our final Gamecocks baseball coaching candidate poll, and this will be the, I'm hoping what I'm about to say here answers the question for some of the people in the comments that are asking why there's not an other option. It's because this is the collection of all the winners of all the candidate polls we've done throughout the entire week. And that is Chris Lemonis from Mississippi State, Cliff Godwin, East Carolina, Josh Elander, Tennessee assistant, Chris Pollard from Duke. We got 19 hours left in this poll, so there's still plenty of time to change some things. But a very good majority of the 352 votes we've received so far, Cliff Godwin from ECU, 43.5%. Yeah. Josh Elander, to me, surprisingly, coming in second at 31%. 17.9% say Chris Pollard. And the most surprising thing to me is that Chris Lemonis at Mississippi State is at only 7.7% of the vote.
I agree. By the way, Christian Moore has just hit a 2-run home run for Tennessee. They are now up 3-2 on Evansville. This was going back and
There's
forth.
not a safe lead in that ballpark.
Yeah, and Lemonis, it's a bit ironic to me in the sense that while he didn't go to South Carolina, nor did Monty Lee for what it's worth, so many of the things that people say about Monty are things that apply to Chris. He's from South Carolina. He went to school in South Carolina. The difference, I guess, is that after Monty played at Charleston, then he was coaching in South Carolina, where Chris Lemonis was coaching at Louisville and as assistant coach with Dan McDonnell, his Citadel teammate, and then became head coach at Indiana, got them to the tournament a few times. And to your point, Elijah, he's now won the College World Series at Mississippi State.
The ring weighs in a lot for me.
Yeah, I thought it did for a lot of Gamecock fans. I'm not sure why he would not be more popular. The reason Tom Walter's not on that list is because Tom Walter didn't make it through the first cut of the Twitter poll, take it as you will. But it does feel like perhaps there's a little bit of traction there, but we'll see. But again, there's not I don't know if there is a good way to say that you're, Monty's going to say yes if it comes down to it. But as we've talked about a bunch, what symbol, does that represent? What signal does that send to the fan base? That's the hard part. It's not about Monty directly. It could be you could replace Monty's name with any other name in a similar resume, but just look at what you're trying to get. And I think Coach Tanner understands those kind of things. Ray wants this to be as solid and strong and nationally relevant a hire as he can possibly make. So, right? But we'll see. I hate saying that. Because again, I want to be here talking about who the next guy is, or trying to figure out more about who it's going to be. But I don't know what's imminent at this point. and how much longer? And again, is there something that we don't know in terms of any potential candidates? We'll certainly do our best to bring that along. Just got a hit from Will on Twitter. Prepare to be underwhelmed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that to be the case. I don't know. I don't think it's lost from the conversations I've had this week. I don't think it's lost. As I mentioned this earlier, again, so I say duh, but I think Coach Tanner really understands how important this one is, and that maybe something that is seen as a potential roll of the dice is not going to go over as well. A lot of people would support Amani Lee hire. I don't have any doubt of that, but maybe not as many as another candidate. I don't know. I didn't see who just hit another home run for Tennessee.
That would be Drew. I think it's Deerling or Dreeling.
4-2 Tennessee. Again, Florida State has already won game one of their super regional against Connecticut.
They beat Connecticut by more than the Boston Celtics beat the Dallas Mavericks last night.
24-4. Is that the final?
Yep. 20 runs.
Yeah,
Boston beat Dallas by 18. Your beloved Dallas Mavericks.
My Dallas Mavericks did not get it done last night. Kyrie only scored like 12 points.
Missed a lot of shots.
Yeah,
Yep.
and see when he's shooting that much, I just don't like it.
No, it's
because it means he's not passing the ball to the guy that's better.
Well, it means in the offense it's kind of stagnant.
Yeah, but Kyrie sometimes thinks, "Oh no, I'm Kyrie," and I if he does that again, can Jason Kidd say, "Kyrie, you can't do that again. You can't be the guy that takes over the game. You're not that guy." I don't know. We'll come back around to that in just a little bit, but again, at this point, is it Tom Walter, Cliff Godwin, and Monty Lee? Kind of feels that way, just trying to read tea leaves, read between lines, and those kind of things.
Using the context clues from what we've been told and using our collective information together, that's certainly how the picture feels.
And you would think, look, again, I'm going to – Ray's probably called a lot of agents, right? Again, my question is this, and it's not one that can be answered today from any of us. Those of us, you and me here in the studio, those of you listening. And that's, again, what is the genuine interest level in this job from the coaching community? And what I mean by that is, again, coming back to Ryan McGee's thoughts on Wednesday, even though Ryan didn't say this directly. But whether fans like it or not, the simple fact is this isn't the same job anymore. It doesn't mean and it's still a great job. Mm-hmm. And any coach is going to know that they have the support of the administration because of what baseball means here. But, look at what Tennessee's doing for Tony Vitello. It might not have the heritage. I mean, I just saw it on the wall, and I figured it was 5 or 6. Tennessee's been to the College World Series 6 times. Well, Ray Tanner went to the College World Series 6 times. South Carolina's been 11 times. I mean, South Carolina's baseball history and tradition is far greater than Tennessee's. But in the what have you done for me now, or what have you done for me lately world, look at it now. Tennessee is paying Tony Vitello a lot of money. Should Tony Vitello become a candidate for another job that is seen as even more premier in the current landscape, then Tennessee will either have to come up with a lot more money, or they're going to say goodbye to Tony Vitello because he's going to make a lot more money at a place that is seen as even better at baseball. That's just the reality, and that's just one example. We talked about Nick Mingione at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Nick Mingione has a new contract signed in the offseason. And, I don't have the hard numbers on it, but basically it's a two-way buyout. Like, again, it's an equal buyout. In other words, if they fired him, they owe him what's left on the remainder of the deal. It's a prorated share of whatever's left. And he owes them the same thing should he leave. Give or take right now, based on those numbers, that's like $3 million. So, I mean, I don't know. Who's paying that? Like, nobody's paying that in baseball. So, and that's not a bad thing per se. Nick Mingione's going to be hanging around at UK for a while, and they'll be perfectly fine with that, and so is he.
The purpose of him signing that contract is to keep him there.
Right.
Yeah,
You
which
signed
means
the
he has
contract.
the desire to not go anywhere else.
And that's what Steve Spurrier did here with when he got his big deal that went from whatever, because he wasn't making very much when he first got here because he was still being paid by Daniel Snyder. But when he got his new deal and went up to past $5 million, Steve said, no, I told him I want a big buyout in there. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I want everybody to know I'm not going anywhere. I mean, again, you signed the contract. So the point I'm making here is not to try and discourage South Carolina fans, but to say that everybody in the SEC now is really taking this seriously. I mean, even Alabama, when they fired Brad Bohannon, and forgive me, they got Maryland's coach who's down there this first season, and his name just went out of my head. But
Coach Vaughn.
But he had taken Maryland to what, 3 or 4 tournaments. I mean, Maryland's become a pretty good Big Ten program. And they're paying him a decent amount of money. And if I may, and I know this sounds weird, other than Missouri, I think the program that cares, or the school that cares least about baseball is Alabama. And they love all their sports. And I don't mean that they don't care about baseball, but if I was ranking the importance on campus,
the pecking order
of the baseball program, and even when Oklahoma and Texas come in, I'm going to say that Alabama and Missouri are going to probably be near the bottom, and maybe Auburn. And Auburn built Plainsman Park a few years back, beautiful little ballpark, and they've been to the World Series a couple times here of late. I mean, I'm not saying Alabama doesn't care. But if I rank them,
that football program is kind of the juggernaut. That's kind of the rising tide, no pun intended.
That Oates fella is now, I mean.
They kind of went to a Final Four.
Alabama's going into the basketball season next year, y'all, likely as the number 1 team in the country. No worse. I think no worse than 5th.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah. They raked in the portal. They got Mark Sears back. Yeah. They might be number 1. Yeah. I'd lean towards them being number 1.
Yeah. All right, got a couple of you on the phone line. Sit tight. I want to get to you on the other side. We'll come back around to more of our discussion on the on-field sponsorships that have been approved and where we take it next. You're listening to the Friday Postgame Show. 18 minutes after 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Going to get to you, Nathan, in just a second. Sit tight, buddy. Mark hit me on Twitter, said, not discouraging. You're doing a great job of doing it. I'm not trying to discourage anyone. I'm saying that the landscape has changed in the SEC to where you can be paid the same money and maybe not face the same pressures. Not to say that someone's going to shy away from it, that the job is too hard or something. But that more and more schools, I mean, let's face it, y'all, this school is paying someone a lot less than most other SEC schools. I mean, that's what I'm saying, that everybody now has that same level. And that maybe that's why it's not that this isn't an attractive job. It's certainly an attractive job. Mark, I think Mark is misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying, again, is what one of our national guests said 2 days ago. It's not the same anymore. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's not desirable. It just means, again, in 2010, Kentucky and Tennessee barely gave a crap about baseball. Mm-hmm. You basically have to have a team. Now they're both hosting super regionals. And Tennessee has become one of the premier programs in America. This is the second time in 3 seasons that they are literally going into the tournament as the number 1 team in America.
And that's an athletic department that has a ton of resources and a ton of donors that make a lot of money that just absolutely flush it down the toilet if it meant Tennessee was going to be really good.
And that's why I've said what Carolina fans want is for Ray Tanner to go hire the Ray Tanner of 20 years ago and then be Ray Tanner now, the athletics director, and give that guy the same support that Ray Tanner got 20 years ago that ultimately led to a beautiful new ballpark and an ability to go out and grab one of the best recruiters in America and steal him away from his alma mater and elevate your program that had been to 3 World Series to get him to 3 more World Series and win 2 of them while playing for a title in the 3rd. And I'm not saying that it can't be done, but if that's the expectation, I don't know how realistic that is anymore because of the competition in the most powerful and well, at least from a baseball perspective, wealthiest conference in the country. I know the Big Ten makes more money, but the Big Ten doesn't focus on baseball. The Big Ten focuses on hockey in a lot of ways. That's sort of where they put their money into that kind of sport. For obvious reasons, the Big Ten can't spend as much on baseball. It's really cold across much of the Big Ten.
For like the entire year.
Yeah, when the baseball season starts. So that's what I'm saying. And if that does discourage you, it's not my intent. But it is my intent to try and present you with what the current landscape of college baseball is. Everybody cares about it now, at least in ways, more people in ways that they used to not. And South Carolina still cares, but, now that level of care may have to really go up.
Well, yeah, and that's why we're emphasizing, look, there are 2 juggernauts coming into your league. You are already at the bottom end of the league in terms of spending on your coach before you fired Mark Kingston. It's just harder. It's harder now than it would have been back then, and you have not had the recent success that you had the last time you had to make this hire. There's just a lot of different factors, which is why this is the most important coaching hire that you've had in a long, long time, I would say, on this campus in terms of preserving a program that your fan base cares about a ton and treasures. I don't even say just cares about.
No, absolutely.
This fan base, Columbia, South Carolina, graduates of the University of South Carolina treasure this program, as you should, and more so than a lot of places that are good now have not historically. That's why this is so important.
Yeah.
If it comes off as discouraging, apologies. But what we're trying to do collectively is make this come off as this is an incredibly important hire. And the last thing you need to do is have this fail, because if we're having the same conversation in 2 to 3 years, the options that you have in terms of the coaches that are going to be quote unquote in the mix, or the ones that you're going to be looking at, aren't going to be as, I guess, don't want to say just good. It's just not good. The options aren't going to be as bountiful as you have right now.
I think that's
other
fair.
schools will also have openings.
I think that's fair.
This is just a very important window to capitalize on.
It's just the reality of the current landscape, man, and that's what we're trying to get across. Again, I think they'll go get somebody good. That's certainly the hope. We'll find out in a few days, won't we? Nathan is up next on the phone lines. Hey, Nathan, appreciate your patience. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good, man.
The only thought that I have had through this, and I will preface this with, I am not a baseball guy in any way, shape, or form. I know that you are, and I've listened to you for over a decade. I feel like you are a genius in comparison to me when it comes to baseball. All I know about Monty Lee is that he coached at Clemson. I have only recently realized that he was a Ray Tanner guy before that, which kind of makes me feel even dumber than I guess I thought that I had about it. I remember staying up late and watching those national titles won in 10 and 11, and then watching us lose in 12, and that was hard. And I could have sworn that on the way to, I believe it was 10, we had beat them on the way to that title. And maybe I'm off on that.
Beat them, Clemson, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Monty wasn't at Clemson yet. Yeah, Monty wasn't at Clemson yet in 2010. Jack Leggett was there. Monty was at the College of Charleston then.
Oh, see, that's how quickly I forgot about Leggett. Anyway, what my thought was is I keep hearing, since we have not hired Monty Lee, that everybody else is a better candidate, must be. Otherwise, since he took the interim position, if he were the guy to get the job from the get-go, then he would have had it, and that may be true.
Yeah.
But you don't just hire anybody for any job all the time. Due diligence is something that happens with every job, whether it be a mechanic or an executive, doesn't matter. You have to do your due diligence. And to say that the guy is just leftovers, I feel is a bit unfair. And the fact that maybe you do think somebody may be better, and then maybe you interview him and go, wow, that guy's a freaking jerk. He is not going to fit this place. Or whatever the case may be along those lines. I don't know. I hadn't heard that thought put out there, and it's the only thing that kept beating around in my mind because of my life.
Yeah, and thanks, Nathan, for the phone call. I think that's what we said. I don't know what label to put on what we think Monty is. I mean, a candidate, but it seems like he's a different kind of candidate, and you just illustrated what we're talking about here and what others all week long have been telling us. It's not just like Elijah and me sitting here saying it. You know, we've had 7 or 8 guests on this just on our show. Not to mention people that have been on other shows, all echoing the same kind of thing, and that is, look, if you offered the job to Monty Lee, he's going to say yes. Who else have you offered the job to? The answer is right now, from what I gather, you haven't offered anyone. And remember, like how any of these things go, you really technically and officially only offer the job once. Because you say to whomever's agent or to the candidate themselves, hey, if we were to put a deal that looked like this,
what's it going to take
in front of you, would you say yes? And then when you get the affirmative, then it's like, okay, we're offering you the job. You know, that's how an AD in any sport across the country comes at you and says, hey, we only offered it to the one guy. But of course you have your due diligence. So, like I said, I don't know that there is a positive way to put a label on Monty's particular, almost unique type of candidacy. That's not typically how these things are done. I mean, let's be honest about it, y'all. When you fire somebody, almost every time, you fire everybody.
The entire staff goes. No.
But because Monty has a unique relationship with the man doing the hiring, it's a little bit different. So, if there's a more positive term than fallback or something like that. And that's, again, I don't really want to say that. Somebody give me something else. Yeah, just candidate. Let's just not put a label on it. He's a candidate, and he has a unique resume. He was a 5-year assistant with Ray Tanner. His entire head coaching career has been done in the state of South Carolina, including several years at your rival. And then when he was let go by the rival, he came back to South Carolina. So, everybody gets why. And again, Monty's a really good baseball coach. I don't think anyone disputes that. I hope everybody understands that. No one's going, how in the hell could you hire Monty Lee? But when you look at this comes back around to the conversation we had about the landscape and the circumstances, is that even if it wasn't Monty Lee, that's why I said it's not about Monty Lee. Look at the resume. Don't say who the person is. Don't say where the schools are, and then line them up with others. And is that the guy you'd pick? And chances are pretty good that you wouldn't. That's what we're saying. But because of the situation, because of his ties, it can't. Look, people say, "Oh, with the love of the school and all this kind of thing." Look, I get that, but Ray Tanner didn't. And Monty didn't go to school here, y'all.
I've got a whole list of coaching examples in all college athletics in the last 2 decades they were people that were from there, graduated there, or had emotional ties, and it did not work out. I'm telling you, it's a very long list.
We'll get into that list and more on this. Get into y'all's phone calls as the postgame show continues.
When you hire a new baseball coach, you want to see improvements in your program, specifically year in, year out. Some people want to improve their personal lives in other ways, and I definitely had a desire about a month and a half, 2 months ago, to achieve a weight loss goal. My friends at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss provides coaches, similar like baseball coaches, but instead of helping you win games, they help you achieve your goal of slimming down and being able to live a healthier lifestyle. My friends at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss did more than that for me. Paul, Grant, and Shaylin over there helped me without the use of any pills, any shots, no super secret formula, just a living habit that has been personalized for me that I can take moving forward. And if you're interested in learning the secret of losing up to a pound of unhealthy fat per day and start your own success story, give them a call, 803-824-4210, or go to ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We got a pretty big one over on 26 eastbound just before exit 72. That accident has the right lane completely blocked, so traffic is moving at a snail's pace through there. We also have an accident at Farrah Road and Highway 555 at Hard Scrabble Road, one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at North Grampian Hills Road, and another one on Clemson Road along Highway 1. We also have one on Highway 60 at US 176 at Broad River Road, one on, well, not an accident, but just slow-moving traffic on 20 westbound between Fairfield Road, exit 70, and I-26 near exit 64.
Gauging some of y'all's reaction to what we're looking at with the Carolina baseball search as Ray Tanner continues to find a replacement for Mark Kingston. Teresa wants to weigh in, and she's up next. Hey, Teresa, good afternoon.
Hi, love your show.
Thank you.
Listened to a long time. I was looking up stuff about Monty Lee because I know he's coached a while back for us, one of the assistants. Pitching, right? Pitching coach?
Yeah, he's more of a hitting coach. Hitting coach.
Hitting coach. Okay. Anyway, it looked like, he's never took a team to a super regional or Omaha, and we're hungry for that again. Once you experience that, you want to do it again, and we haven't since then. So I know Clemson has a chance to go this year, and they had fired him last year, correct?
2 years ago, yeah. This is Eric Bakic's second season. And to be fair, just real quick for you, Monty did take Charleston to one super at Texas Tech, I think in 2014. But other than that, yeah. And at Clemson, they hosted four times as regional hosts and did not advance. And then the last two seasons, they did not get out, or they didn't even make the tournament. And that's one reason that a lot of Gamecock fans are looking at it and going, wait a minute. Not only did he get fired from his job, our rival fired him. And what we're looking for, and that's why I said if you took his name off, Teresa, and where he worked, you'd look at it and go, that's good. That's good, but is it what we're really looking for?
I don't think so. I think I just say, keep Kingston if we're going to pick Monty. Not that he's a bad coach or anything like that. That's the way I see it. Yeah. I'm a big baseball fan, and I love my Gamecock baseball. And I'm trying to like Clemson a little bit. My great-nephew is going to play for Clemson, not next year, but the year after that. And he loves Clemson, so I'm going to have to go to some of the games and root for him. That's going to be really different.
Good luck. Good luck.
I'm a graduate of Carolina, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it can be difficult. And not that my wife played any sports at Carolina, but my father-in-law, I've said many times, and Teresa, thank you for the phone call, and have a great weekend. My father-in-law went to Clemson, and he's a fan. I can assure you. And he's told stories of not liking the tuition checks that had to be signed back in the day.
He went through a very similar.
Or that, her husband went there, and now one of his granddaughters just graduated from the University of South Carolina.
This isn't how he pictured it.
No,
is what you're saying.
It's not. I think he thought the whole thing would be orange, but that's a whole other story. Now,
Good call, Teresa.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. Appreciate it. Yeah, again, Monty's got a good resume. It's a solid resume. No one disputes that. That's why I've said earlier in the week, we can't help it sometimes. You got to make it about the person, but it's not the primary intent. It's that a lot of this fan base, as I keep saying, y'all, and I'm going to repeat it again because I said it about a half hour ago. This fan base, if you kind of nutshell it into what people are really wanting, they want Ray Tanner to go get someone as close to what Ray Tanner was 20 years ago. That's what they want. That's what they want. Or even 28 years ago when Mike McGee hired Ray Tanner. And Ray Tanner was a coach, in his 30s who had taken NC State, his alma mater, to the tournament a few times. No supers back then, so just regionals. Supers came in '99, and of course Ray from 2000 to 2012. I think they missed the supers twice, if I'm not mistaken.
It was I think it was what, 10 times in 14 years,
Something like that. I forget. A lot.
a pretty good stretch.
There's a lot.
Don't know if you can ask for
So, that's what they want. And so, again, whether it's Monty Lee or John Jones or whoever, are you that guy? And the answer is primarily no. That's just where it is. Let's get to David up next. Do I have time for David? Yeah, okay. Make sure I was looking at my clock here. Hey, David, how are you? Good afternoon.
Pretty good. How you getting along?
Good, man.
I think that there is one amazing, compelling argument for Landon Powell if he's available. Landon Powell has been a coach in NCAA Division II for 10 years. He's won 5 conference championships. He's won the Division II World Series. He's in the World Series this year. He has 7 players on his team that were all conference. He has a winning percentage over the last 10 years of 75.1%. He's played in the major leagues. He's played under Coach Tanner. I put something on Rivals, and somebody came back and said, well, North Greenville University is not the SEC. A coach is either going to start as an assistant coach or a coach in, small college or something like that. But what he's done within the 10 years at North Greenville has been just absolutely awesome. I mean, I feel that, Landon, with his major league experience, with an absolute A-plus performance at North Greenville and playing under Coach Tanner, I guess he was there all 4 years, and he went to the World Series, didn't he?
Yes, 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the pedigree. He's got the
he
experience.
does. David, I know his resume at where he's been is good, but if his name again was Jim Smith and he had gone to University of Memphis and was doing the exact same thing for 10 years at North Greenville, would you want him at South Carolina?
Not unless he had played in the major leagues, and not.
Well, let's say he played in the major leagues for 10 years, but everything else. But again, he wasn't Landon Powell from South Carolina, but instead was again Jim Smith from the University of Memphis. But
I'd say that'd be a pretty good candidate if they've won 75% of their games. They've been in the College World Series and won it and been in it multiple times. I don't think you're going to lose a thing on Landon Powell. I think Landon Powell, he's coached for 10 years. How many years does he have to coach before he gets a break at a real
there's the next thing I'm going to say to you, David, is that again there are currently 3 jobs open in South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, that are D1 jobs. One of them is Coastal Carolina, who's won the D1 College World Series. If I'm Landon, if I'm advising Landon, I would say, Landon, go apply for the Winthrop job, for the Coastal job, and the Citadel job, and go coach in Division I, which is a huge step up in terms of managing the scholarships, now the NIL space. Yeah, there are so many things that go into this, David, beyond just coaching baseball. I've also said, and thank you for the phone call, I'm out up against it, I know people love Landon. I've met Landon many times. He's been on the show. We had him on not long after that no-hitter. Landon's great. He's great. But, again, we've talked about the current landscape of Southeastern Conference baseball. Are you going to give that job to someone who's not spent one day coaching in any level of D1? The last time
big of a jump.
The last time he played in D1 was 20 years ago. If the new coach has an interest in hiring Landon as an assistant, that would be, I think, good, because Landon can teach the sport. He can help develop players. But is he ready to run this kind of program? Again, go get the Winthrop job if you want to stay a head coach. I don't know if Matt Hogue would consider him for Coastal, and I don't mean that as a knock on Landon. Is he ready for that kind of gig yet?
It's just such a big jump. D2, D1 is a massive jump.
Massive.
Even at a mid-major level, you're just dealing with so much more than you ever have in your career from that coaching standpoint.
More post-game show coming up. Welcome back in. Want to get into as many phone calls as we can. Appreciate y'all calling in. 803-404-6100. Hank is up next talking to the baseball search. Hey, Hank.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
Hey, I wanted to ask this, and it's just to throw it out there. I'm not saying what should be or what shouldn't be. But I guess my concern is with Landon Powell. Is Landon going to be one that we regret later from a miss? The coach at Tennessee, the coach at Georgia, and there's one more coach in the SEC that, and I can't remember who the third one is. This is their first head coaching job. Their first head coaching job was as the coach to the team. And now they were only an assistant beforehand. And with Carolina, as we've seen back when Crimmins the first time, not when Crimmins came and left, but the first time, and like Sylvia Hatfield the first time, we've had some folks who've been kind of within Carolina's realm that we've let miss, that we've missed because we say, oh, are they quite ready, da-da-da-da-da. And is Landon Powell going to be one of those that somebody comes and gets?
I don't know. I'll say this. Wes Johnson at Georgia was a longtime major league pitching coach and spent a couple of years on staff at LSU. Tony Vitello spent several seasons as Dave Van Horn's top assistant at Arkansas. And the point I make there, Hank, is again, they were there day in, day out at the highest level programs in the country learning what it's all about. So I can't answer your question directly. I'd like to see Landon step into Division I baseball. That's all. That's what I'm saying. And I'm far from alone in this. You can pin it on me if you want to, man, but this is an opinion shared by many that I have spoken with around this sport, around this school, and around this sport. You've not spent a day in Division I baseball as the coach, and that does make a difference. That's why I'm saying go get the Winthrop job. Hell, try to get the Coastal job. See, go interview with Matt Hogue.
That would be shooting for the stars.
That's a great job in a very good baseball conference. Sun Belt baseball kicks ass. All right,
yeah. It's like the third best conference in the country.
I would say I would put it fourth. I would put it fourth right now, honestly.
Yeah,
SEC with the again, sadly with the demise of the Pac-12, but as we enter a new era next
no longer
year,
with us.
Southeastern Conference, Atlantic Coast Conference, Big 12 Conference, Sun Belt Conference. Sun Belt's got 4 at-larges in, and Troy just missed it.
Could have easily had 5.
They could have had 5. Maybe some people say they maybe should have had 5, but regardless, they got 4 teams in the Sun Belt. That's good.
And here's the thing with Landon too is that just going to Hank's question. He said, "Would you regret not getting him?" Here's the thing: you're not competing with a Power 5 school for Landon Powell right now. Landon Powell, I can put a lot of money on him not being a Power 5 coach. Well, Power 4 now because of, like I said, the Pac-12. Rest in peace. Yeah, he will not be coaching at a power conference for his first job as a head coach.
Yeah, I can't.
That would be such a. It's that big of a jump, right? But. So I guess in terms of that question alone, if he does go to a smaller conference and proves he could be successful, I think there's an avenue to get him depending on what happens here in the next 5 or 6 years. Again, that's pretty far down the line. But I don't think you're going to have buyer's remorse if you lose out on him to the Citadel or Winthrop, right? And they end up winning a conference a title, and he's able to get to the NCAA tournament, and he's coaching at this point, later on down the road. That's my thing in terms of just like a pure buyer's remorse standpoint. Right. It's not like, you don't get them and Arkansas does. Like Dave Van Horn retires and Arkansas does.
Yeah, that's
not in the realm of possibility.
No.
Which is why I don't think you would regret it at this juncture of time.
Landon's early 40s now, I guess.
He's got a lot of life left in that coaching career.
But again, get into it. Again, I've made the analogy earlier in the week. For Carolina football fans that wanted, speaking of Coastal, that wanted Jamie Chadwell to be the head coach here after what he had been doing over in Conway for a few years. And I was like, he's never spent a day as an assistant coach or head coach, obviously, in the Power 5 and in the Southeastern Conference. This is a totally different animal. And all of you know that, too. Even those of you who are plugging for a guy like that understand that this is not just cutthroat. This is like all, Mel Gibson, Mad Max cutthroat type stuff.
Because this isn't just any SEC job. As we discussed, this is an SEC job where the fans expect you to be either it's the Supers or Omaha almost every year.
I mean, experience it. And again, you can say, well, Jay, he played in it. No, he didn't play in this. He didn't. He played in this league 20 years ago. And I know he's got his big league experience. Again, he offers a lot. 10 years and what he's done, to go to the previous caller's point, not Hank, I think it was David. You know what? You've set yourself up now. Again, go apply for one of these 3 open D1 gigs in South Carolina. Again, one of them is premier because they've won the College World Series. I don't know if you can get that. I don't know. I don't know what Matt Hogue's going to be looking for to replace Gary Gilmore. But if you can do it there and step up, hey, yeah, let's see. Hour 3 coming up.
Another word with my friends over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. They helped me achieve a pretty big goal that I set out for myself just a few short months ago. Wanted to lose 15 pounds, look a little thinner, and I was able to achieve that and exceed it by 5 pounds and counting. I think we're up to 22 last time I looked at the scale. It's been a couple of days to be transparent. But my friends at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss have been with me every single bit of the way. Paul, Grant, and Shaylin have been fantastic. They help you reach your goal, make personalized plans for you, and personalized coaching sessions to help you reach your goal, given what your day-to-day life looks like. They're fantastic. I highly recommend going to them and going through their program. And if you're interested in learning the secret of losing up to 1 pound of unhealthy fat per day and start your own success story like myself, give them a call, 803-824-4210. Again, that's 803-824-4210, or go to ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start with an accident that's got the right lane completely blocked on 26 eastbound before South Carolina 121 near exit 72. So traffic moving very slowly through there. We also have a couple on Highway 1 at Augusta Road. One's at 12th Street and one's at North Grampian Hills Road. So Augusta Road traffic is moving pretty slowly there with a pair of accidents. We also have one on Highway 60 at US 176 at Broad River Road, one on I-26 westbound before exit 76, and lastly, we have an accident on 77 northbound that's over at Killian Road near exit 22.
It is 5 o'clock on this Friday. Welcome back in. Final hour of the postgame show as well. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Another busy day as we've talked a lot about what's going on around the Gamecock baseball search. Very busy on the phones in the last hour. Let me update you for those of you just tuning in. Nothing new to report today in terms of a candidate that has emerged above others from what our good friend David Cloninger was reporting earlier with us and what I've been able to learn today. Wake Forest's Tom Walter is still very much in the mix. It does as well feel like potentially Cliff Godwin of East Carolina, potentially Chris Pollard of Duke, and certainly Monty Lee are also there. Who might be weight above another at this point is very difficult to gauge. Coach Tanner's obviously not talking about it, and these candidates or their agents aren't really talking about it. I know Elijah had a report earlier from an ECU writer at their 24/7 site that said it felt like Cliff Godwin's candidacy at South Carolina was over, but there's been no way to confirm that at this point in time. And look, you might say no once, and it felt for a bit like maybe that was where this was zeroing in. I have to believe, this is just me talking now, that there's a lot of Ray Tanner in Cliff Godwin, a lot that Ray Tanner would see with who he was when he was at his alma mater 30 years ago and was doing good things. But here came a job in the Southeastern Conference, a very different Southeastern Conference than the one we're in today. There's no question of that. But hey, I was at my alma mater like you, Cliff, and here I am today, and I've done these things, and we're going to support you. And it's not that Cliff Godwin doesn't get support, but Cliff loves his school. His family loves being up there. They're from up that way. It's hard to pull somebody out. Again, with Tom Walter, a lot of the things that he wants facility-wise are in place in Columbia. Is there only so much that you can do at a place like Wake Forest? He's been to the World Series. Chris Pollard at Duke has not yet been to the World Series, but he's been to a couple of Supers. He's won the ACC tournament twice. He's developing. You talk about more with less. He's getting it done. And as we've said many times, we understand what Monty Lee's resume is. So it feels like that's the four. Are there others potentially? Perhaps, excuse me. I know on our poll question today, Elijah's got Chris Lemonis' name on there. There's a guy from Myrtle Beach who played at the Citadel, longtime assistant to his Citadel teammate Dan McDonald at Louisville, went to Indiana, got him to the tournament a bunch, went to Mississippi State, and won the College World Series. Is he a potential guy? What would it cost to get him out? Buyouts are a huge part of this. And with some of these guys, like Walter and Pollard at private schools, it's more difficult for those of us who do this for a living to get a lot of their information. They certainly have contracts, and it may well be that their agent could speak with Ray Tanner and be able to deliver the pertinent numbers, but they may not be made available publicly. Like, it wasn't hard at all for me to find out some of the buyout numbers on some of the other candidates, like Nick Mingione of Kentucky. I don't know that Nick was ever really a candidate. And the reason Nick probably wasn't a candidate is because his buyout is somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million. And you're not doing that for a baseball coach.
Nope.
You're just not. You might do it for a football coach or a basketball coach.
It's non-starter.
But I just don't think you're doing it for a baseball coach, even at a place like South Carolina. Now, and again, not that Nick Mingione is the guy that you're necessarily looking at. But Walter, Pollard, Godwin, Lee, feels like those guys are all still very much in the mix. And no real timetable, but David said that in reaching out to a few who would have some specifics on a timetable, there was nothing imminent. So I expect this to go through the weekend, and I agree with David 100%. I know you do too, Elijah. They're not going to have a press conference or announce this over the weekend. There won't be any weird late-night Bobby Petrino woo pig suey at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, please don't news dump your baseball coach announcement.
That won't happen. Not here.
If anything, if you news dump it, that would just tell you how confident you are about your head coaching hire. Because if I hire a head coach, the only thing that would say I'm not really confident in this is trying to sneak it past a fan base that is passionate about baseball.
Right.
And doing it at either 2 a.m. or 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Yeah.
When
It's still one of the
programs like this can only have a very select time to react to it.
I can only imagine being a media member at that Bobby Petrino Arkansas press conference relative to being a fan that was there doing the woo pig suey. And again, it was like 11 o'clock at night. And they did. I'm telling you, they did that.
It's a news dump.
But they did it because they needed to go ahead and put him in front of cameras and reporters, because if they had waited till the next morning, he might have changed his mind. I'm telling you, I believe 1,000,000% that's why they had that weird press conference at the time of night that they did.
Well, I know they're probably shameful of it. Because there's
that.
What job is Bobby Petrino leaving for? It was odd enough that he went to Texas A&M, you know?
Oh, boy.
They're afraid he's going to go to San Jose State to be the offensive coordinator?
So we'll keep you updated. Certainly, if we get, we're not expecting anything here in the final hour of today's program. But
I would be stunned.
we've been following at this point, you know what? I'm like, let's just go through the weekend. I'd rather deal with this on Monday. But no, and for those of you, again, we'll get into some more phone calls in a bit. A lot of you have had some very thoughtful comments today on what we're looking at here, and making a push for some outside-of-the-box type candidates. I just don't know that that's exactly what Coach Tanner is going to be going for. To be, again, for now, I got to get into some other headlines, and we'll talk more baseball in a bit, but I just don't see a roll of the dice candidate emerging this time. I just don't think that's where it is for the majority of this baseball fan base.
It's too important.
It is. I think you've got to go with proven, at least semi-long time experience. And if you were going to go the assistant route, or if Monty was going to really be your top choice, you would probably just elevated him, which I was told was never going to happen anyway. Or again, a guy like Josh Elander at Tennessee, who's still busy, but is a vital cog in the machine of the very modern program that Tony Vitello is running.
Yeah, a program you'd like to get back to seeing yourself look like.
And that's another, I think, just key component to this, a very modern program. You must embrace the new realities. Not just embrace them, but want to thrive within that structure.
And a coach that is hesitant on doing that would be a red flag.
I think so.
That's a red flag.
I think it is. I agree with you 100%. Some other headlines of the day for you here. NBA Finals Game 1 last night. Kristaps Porzingis. I found this out, too. Only the second time in his career that he did not start. And it was all the way back in 2017, but he came off the bench with 20 points last night after, 6 weeks being injured, give or take?
Yeah, missed 10 games, but they didn't have a series of more than 5 games. So, he got some rest. Boston
wins last night 107-89. Game 2 of the finals is on Sunday in Boston. Speaking of the NBA, and maybe the bigger news of the day, considering how badly Boston beat Dallas, but multiple reports say that Dan Hurley is in Los Angeles today meeting with owner Jeannie Buss and president of basketball operations Rob Pelinka. The Lakers are pursuing the two-time national champion to become their head coach. Adrian Wojnarowski Woj says they're preparing a lucrative offer. There have been reports today that suggest Connecticut is trying to prepare an improved contract for Dan Hurley to remain the head coach of the Huskies. I don't know. I'm not Dan Hurley. I just have a very hard time, Elijah, believing that Dan Hurley is using this as a ploy to make more money. If you wanted to do that, you could have expressed interest earlier. Again, if it were, as you and I talked about a couple days, I guess yesterday, if it was the Hawks,
sure.
If it was the Rockets, the Magic, hey, we're interested in hiring Dan Hurley. Yeah, okay, I'll come meet with you. Oh, and then the Connecticut brass is like, oh, the NBA can pay more money than we can. We need to put a better offer together. This is the Lakers.
They get who they want.
I just think that you've got to go see. I think there's genuine interest. Do I want to become the head coach of the Lakers? It may end up that almost as sort of a, hey, thanks for coming back, Dan, or for not leaving, Dan. Here's a little bump. But I don't see this as one of those, oh, watch this.
We'll one up the
I could be wrong, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know if I'm being incredibly naive or if I'm looking at this through the lens of someone who says, much like when Mike Krzyzewski, do we believe that Mike Krzyzewski used interest from the Los Angeles Lakers 20 years ago-ish as a way to get more money out of Duke? No, because it was the Lakers, and it was the chance to coach Kobe.
The Lakers wanted him to do it. Coach K ultimately
the Lakers wanted him, man.
Down. Yeah, he turned it down because he thought about he had a lot of thinking to do about it. Which is what Dan Hurley's going to have to do. Like, the offer is going to be made, and Dan and his wife are going to sit down and think about it and be like, is it worth coaching in the NBA? Or can UConn make the pay close enough to where I can live with it? UConn will have a chance, I'm sure, to have a rebuttal in terms of a contract adjustment.
But and that's why I say I just don't know if it's all about the money, then just go ahead and tell Connecticut, listen, it's about the money.
Then you're out.
Yeah.
Deuces.
Otherwise, I think this is about the opportunity to take your brand of basketball into the NBA and with the Lakers. As we've said, the #1 basketball franchise on earth. There's the Lakers, there's the Celtics, and then there's everybody else. But there's the Lakers and the Celtics, and then there's a gap.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Knicks, Bulls, Spurs.
Warriors you could put in
Dubs.
There.
Yeah. But when Steph finally leaves the Dubs,
that's gone. Yeah. They're back down to tier 3.
Thank goodness for the Spurs, they got Wemby.
To keep a little bit of interest there.
And if they could have kept Kawhi, then maybe we're still talking about a great, team instead of a team that had to, go into the lottery twice or whatever it is now, 3 times, 4 times. Hell, I don't know.
It's been about 4 or 5 straight.
A lot. But we'll see. Anyway, so, but yes, Dan Hurley confirmed to be in L.A. meeting with the Lakers. Maybe they'll hang out over the weekend. They'll take him to a bunch of houses. They want to live in Bel Air. You want to live on the beach. You want to live up in Malibu. Want to live on a golf course?
Choice is yours, Danny.
I don't know if there's can you live at Riviera? I'm sure you can, but that might be, even for the coach of the Lakers, that might be too expensive. I don't know.
Everything's going to be really, really expensive, which is why the Lakers will offer a ton of money.
Atlanta Braves beat the Washington Nationals last night by a count of 5-2. Marcell Ozuna hit his league-leading 18th home run. Braves and Nats go at it again tonight at 6:45 Eastern Time from our nation's capital. Chris Sale on the hill for Atlanta. 8-1 is the big lefty. 3.06. He goes up against Jake Irvin, 3-5 on the year, but with a 3.39 ERA. He's not doing too badly despite the bad record. They just don't score any runs for him.
I was going to say, you telling me a pitcher for the Washington Nationals is having a hard time getting run support in the last couple of years? I'm stunned.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming. And we'll talk more about this a little bit later on as part of the drive around the SEC, but the NCAA yesterday did allow, and we've talked about it earlier in the show, on-field sponsor logos for regular season football games. You can have one at the 50 if you want to, and you can have 2 basically if you picture at Williams-Brice or most other SEC or even any other conference where they have the conference logo on the field in 2 different spots around the 30-yard line. You can put an advertisement there if you wish. Some of you are fine with this, others not so much. But as I've said, like it or not, this is going to happen. Although some places have said, yeah, we may not do that just yet, like Alabama. And I'm like, yes, you will.
Eventually.
Yes, you will. There'll be some company over there. And yeah, I guarantee you, Yellowwood's going to be all over Auburn and Jordan Hare. Because the Yellowwood guy's an Auburn guy.
Well, the amount of calls Alabama will be getting for donors who would love nothing more than their logo to be viewed at by a record number of people.
Yes, you'll pay me what? Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. Where do you want it? We'll put it in the end zone. We'll break the rule. We'll put it in the end zone.
Talk more on the Carolina Baseball Search. Update you on what's going on at the Super Regionals. That was our integrated media headlines of the day. 803-948-8327 for all your home entertainment needs. Integrated media. Be right back. I tell you about the men's clinic, Dr. Dan Balknight and his staff ready to help you out, guys, when you're not feeling like yourself. And you may say, I don't want to go to the doctor. I'll be fine. I'll start walking a little more around the neighborhood. And then you start doing that. And you're like, yeah, I still just don't feel like I want. Something's off. Go in and see Dan Balknight. You'll get comprehensive lab work done. Check out what's going on. Dan will speak with you about your habits in life, what you do on a daily basis, and figure out the root of what it is that's missing and get you back to feeling the way you want to. So don't be the guy that won't go to the doctor. Instead, get to feeling better after you see Dan Balknight and his team. They're experts in healthcare for men. They're dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. Call them up for a free consultation, 803-875-MENS, and learn more online at themensclinicsc.com. Welcome back into the postgame show, 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Friday. We've been talking so much baseball that Elijah and I, along with our good friend, along with the guy we work with.
Good is really bending the English language there.
Josh Yellman. We want to give some tickets away to the Fireflies against Fayetteville this Sunday. We have 2 family 4-packs for Sunday's 5 o'clock game. All right, Sunday, 5 o'clock, Segra Park. Callers 4 and 5, you each will get a family 4-pack of tickets to see the Fireflies take on Fayetteville. Fayetteville used to be the Generals.
They're the Woodpeckers now.
Okay. Because there's a big military base over there. I knew they used to be. I don't know. People change names all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
So 803-404-6100. Caller 4, caller 5. You will be going to see the Fireflies on Sunday, 5 o'clock, first pitch against Fayetteville. So just want to say thanks for listening to us, and as we talk a lot of baseball. Speaking of baseball, Super Regionals have begun. Florida State today, you're not mishearing me? Is that the right word? 24-4 over Connecticut. That's right, 24-4. And as we speak, we are in the top of the 7th inning. Tennessee leads Evansville 8-5. Both of these are obviously game 1. Coming up in just a little bit, it'll be North Carolina hosting West Virginia. That one starts at 6. And then tonight at 7, Virginia hosting Kansas State. And tomorrow, we'll get into the rest of these coming up during the drive around, but that's what's going on today. But again, FSU beat Connecticut 24-4. The good news for the Huskies is tomorrow's a brand new day. All you got to do is win tomorrow and you force a game on Sunday, despite how badly you're beaten today. The place was a ghost town by the time it was done. FSU fans treating it like one of those blowouts in football. Let's get back out to the tailgate, man. We've been talking a lot of Carolina baseball today, obviously, and some of the things that we're hearing. Again, if you've just tuned in, didn't hear us at the top of the hour, it feels, as best we can tell, those that we have spoken with from our own perspective, those on the beat that we have gleaned some information from would suggest, in no particular order, save perhaps for, where Monty Lee may stand in this, and that's not a judgment on Monty, but simply that you're looking at outside candidates first. Tom Walter of Wake Forest, Chris Pollard of Duke, Cliff Godwin of ECU. We have been told by multiple people that there was contact and conversation with Dan McDonnell, longtime, very successful head coach at Louisville, who played at the Citadel, and that has moved on. So it appears that it will not be Dan McDonnell. I can't tell you that there isn't another surprise candidate. John Whittle told us earlier in the week that based on everything he was reporting and hearing, that the candidates that Carolina was most focused upon were already done for the season. So it doesn't feel like anybody that is currently coaching as a head coach or an assistant coach is at least high up on the list. And it's hard to talk with those guys anyway while they're trying to prepare to go to the College World Series. If someone were, I might add, this is just me talking, and I don't think this is going to happen, but, Supers will be over by Monday night. And if you were genuinely interested in somebody, even if they are going to be moving on to Omaha, you would have a chance to speak with them before they left. I would think you could find a way to make that happen. I know that would take away a little bit of time, and you'd have to be really, I guess, secretive about it, Elijah. But I suppose you could do it if that was on your card. But I don't think it is. Not from what we're hearing.
Not from what we're hearing, and not from just the understanding of the gravity of this job,
right, and
the gravity of the situation at hand. It would be the discussions you have with the coach. I think you'd probably need their full attention on the task at hand, and it'd be hard to get. Not say you couldn't get it, but it'd be a little more difficult than it would be having a conversation with a head coach that you're targeting,
right,
that has a little more time on their hands right now.
speaking of Cliff Godwin, you got a hit on the YouTube, I guess, comment line that we want to get to.
Yeah, certainly. This is from SC Mike. He says about a half dozen ECU players have hit the portal, including a couple of real good players. And if you're trying to interpret Eastern Carolina players hitting the portal, I understand the thought process of, oh, wow, they got guys entering the portal. They must know something we don't. Unfortunately, for Cliff Godwin, this is kind of an issue he's having to deal with already at ECU, or players reaching the portal, especially the good ones. Now, for those who remember what NC State did to South Carolina, now the player went 0 for 5 in that game, but one of NC State's best players, Alec Makarevich, I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
I love doing the Makarevich.
I do love doing
weddings.
the Makarevich, yeah. Do I do it correctly? Rarely. But do I have fun doing it? Always. But he's third in the NC State Wolfpack lineup, one of their most reliable hitters, and he came from East Carolina.
Yeah.
He was an East Carolina transfer.
Yeah.
And he got poached. I'm just going to be straight up. He got poached from East Carolina to go play at the Power 5 level. That is just the nature of coaching at East Carolina. No matter how good the program is and how much they contend with going to supers and how close they've been getting to going to the College World Series on 4 different occasions, for a lot of these kids, it's not enough to keep them around. So he can recruit a lot of players, and what's happening frequently with him is he's getting them in and they're basically getting outbid for him, which presents the option of, look, we've talked about how much Cliff wants to win at ECU. We talk about him being an ECU guy, what it means for him to be able to get them to Omaha, and that being, his career mission. But one thing that you might be able to use to get him out of Greenville is the struggle of what that commenter just said.
Yeah.
Players hitting the portal.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm with you. I wouldn't try to read between the lines and say they know something we don't. It's. I'm looking for the better offer. And again, I also understand fully that some of you go, oh, I don't know if I want that guy, or that turns me away from. I get it. Not all of us like it either. But as I've said, that's the world. That's it. And that's, for now at least, and for the foreseeable future, that's here to stay. That is not going to be nearly as big an issue at South Carolina for a head coach. You'll find ways to keep those guys on the roster. And even South Carolina is going to have limitations. Again, we talked about, Texas A&M. Only as Texas comes into the league will there be a school that can compete with Texas A&M's cash flow. That's just the reality. Even LSU.
Oil and Bucky's money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it. Listen,
LSU doesn't have a rival like Clemson in state, and LSU's got oil money. They don't have Texas oil money or Oklahoma oil money, but there's oil money in Louisiana and down in the Gulf. And the Port of New Orleans coming in and all that. It's
a lucrative business.
Yeah, they're doing all right, So, but it's not nearly. It's more about the landscape than it is about Cliff, and how much does Cliff want to keep dealing with that? Because I agree with you 100%. There will always be limitations at East Carolina relative to any school in the Atlantic Coast Conference or Southeastern Conference.
And if I'm right, that's my biggest pitch.
That's one of them.
It's, hey, how long do you want to be a minnow, and are you ready to become a shark?
Yeah, I'll give you.
You could be a shark here at South Carolina.
And there's a lot of things that Ray, I think, in Cliff that he sees in Cliff that he can sell.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely believe that. Not here to say I'm advocating for Cliff Godwin above any of the other candidates. That's not my place. He's I think you and I both had like that list of 4. We know one of them, apparently. I say we know, but as close as we can tell, one of them, Dan McDonald's been scratched. That leaves Walter, Pollard, and Godwin. There's a lot to like about any of those 3, but there's something I think that's a little different in Cliff Godwin that could be appealing for a guy like Ray Tanner to try and go sell this job maybe over the weekend or beyond. We shall see. Continue this, get into a little more in the drive around the SEC coming up.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We're going to start with one that has caused quite the issues for about the last hour and a half or so, and that's an accident on I-26 eastbound right before exit 72. It's got the right lane completely blocked, so traffic has been moving pretty slowly there for most of the afternoon. Others to report on, we have one on North Main Street at I-20 here in Richland County, one on I-26 westbound just after exit 76. So a couple of spots on 26 have been problematic. One on 20 eastbound at Bush River Road near exit 63, one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at 12th Street, and one on Huge Street at Blossom.
It is Drive Around the SEC time. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. The first of 5 SEC schools is playing right now in the Super Regionals. Tennessee hosting Evansville. Vols are hitting bottom 7, 1 on, 2 out. They lead 8-5. Game 1 of the best of 3. No other SEC schools playing today. Earlier, Florida State beat Connecticut 24-4. Coming up in just a little bit, North Carolina and West Virginia, and about an hour later, Virginia and Kansas State. Tomorrow, though, each of the 4 super regionals that start will feature an SEC school, 3 of them hosting tomorrow. Kentucky hosting Oregon State. Georgia welcomes NC State. A&M hosts Oregon. Clemson will have Florida in the Jack Leggett Bowl kind of a thing, as Eric Bakich and Kevin O'Sullivan, former Jack Leggett assistants, will go head-to-head. A couple of guys that have been to the World Series. Eric Bakich has not won the World Series, but he came real close with Michigan.
With Michigan, which is basically like the equivalent of going to 2 College World Series finals.
Yeah. You know, Tennessee, again, they're winning this one today, and we certainly expect Tennessee, at least, even if Evansville were to find a way to win tomorrow, in a best of 3 for Tennessee to move on. Georgia, NC State, I like NC State's opportunity. I really like Florida's opportunity at Clemson. Oregon is a 3 seed, but they're very good. And Oregon State going to Kentucky might be the one that I would favor the most. I don't know. I'm not here really making predictions, but as you and I have talked about a bunch this week, when you look at the 4 supers that start today and the 4 that start tomorrow, the 4 that start today, I like the home teams in each of them. And in a couple of instances, perhaps by a wide margin. The ones that start tomorrow, I don't favor the home teams by nearly as much. All 8 home teams may well win. That's the beauty of hosting this round, is that it gives you that much more of an advantage. And I'm not going to get into my rant about any potential game 3s and a coin flip.
Oh, well, yeah.
I just hate that.
We've destroyed that one a lot this weekend.
Again, if y'all know what we're talking about.
So dumb.
If you get to a game 3 of a super regional, there's a coin flip to see who the home team is in terms of the sport of baseball, which is just stupid. Why am I seeding this? Why am I the home team? I've earned the right to be at home. I should also be, again, for the purposes of the sport of baseball, the home team. And the NCAA says, well, it's enough that you're in your home ballpark.
Nope.
It's not. I earned the right to be the home team.
Way to water down my advantage.
Yeah, both. It's dumb. But again, the Committee on Smiles and Sunshine says that it's not fair unless you win the coin flip. That's fair.
Fate is fair.
Merit, no. Yeah. Stupid fate, sure. Why not?
But from calling shots before we move on, West Virginia over North Carolina.
Yeah.
Feeling it. That's the only one
they're playing well, man.
I'm feeling it.
They won, I think, in most people's opinions, they won the single most difficult 4-team regional.
Yeah,
Dallas Baptist, Grand Canyon, and host Arizona, and West Virginia emerged. There's a reason to feel like they're playing. And look, at Chapel Hill the other night, The defense against LSU
Saved them.
yeah, won the day, man. So they're playing really good baseball too.
It's an awesome baseball.
It should be that could be
That's my upset alert.
I like a lot of these. I like a lot of these. Yeah, I don't know that any of the road teams. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that any of the road teams, despite the seeding, I mean the obvious. I don't know that any of the road teams tomorrow would feel like just massive upsets. Even 3-seed Oregon going to College Station. I just don't think it would be like, oh my gosh.
The only real David here, in terms of David and Goliath matchups, is Evansville.
Yeah,
That's the only one.
and they're the rock in their slingshot is farther and farther away. Tennessee has just hit a 2-run shot, so it is now what 10-5 Tennessee.
11-5.
Oh, 11. Wow.
Hunter Ensley just hit his 10th home run, which means that makes like 7 players in that lineup that have hit at least 10 home runs this year.
So Tennessee's going to win today, or so it would appear.
It would
But again,
take
it's a
a
best of
lot
3.
than that.
Like I said, to Connecticut players and fans, keep your head up. All you did was lose a baseball game today. Yes, by 20 runs, but it's not an aggregate.
Nope. It don't matter if you lost by 1 or 20.
That's right. You lost.
You win the next 2, you're on to Omaha,
you play
baby.
tomorrow and win, you're good, man. That's all it takes.
You take 1 loss baked in already.
Thank God it's not aggregate scoring. I'll say that much.
Or else you might as well go
Yeah,
home.
then you should just go home. No. We can win by 19 tomorrow, and then we'll have a. No, that's not how it works.
Nah, I doubt it.
Yeah. So,
But that's the best part. You can show up tomorrow, win, and then it's like it never happened.
so we mentioned this earlier. Not really an SEC thing. It's a college football thing. But if you did not hear the NCAA, what is it? The rules oversight. I don't know. Whatever. There's another. It's not the Committee on Smiles and Sunshine, but it's some other committee.
They love having committees.
They do. Has
absolutely
approved the ability for schools to sell advertising on the football field. You can place corporate logos on your football field in 3 spots. You can do it at the 50, where most schools have their, main logo. And you can do it basically in the spots where you currently have your conference logo. Again, if you picture Williams-Brice or any other SEC school for what it's worth, and I know the ACC has the ACC logo on the field, where those logos are, you could put a sponsor logo there. Or, again, like at Williams-Brice, they have them on 2 of them, 1 on each 30. So just the opposite side of that, you could put a corporate logo. That's what I would do. I mean, I wouldn't want to see any school really. In fact, I don't think many schools will want to put a corporate logo on the 50. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. Some may.
I do think that would be really tacky.
Yeah, but I think doing it, if you took one that's the same size as the SEC logo and put it on, again, on the field at Williams-Brice or Sanford, wherever, I don't care. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I could see, and I'm serious about this because they're a Knoxville company. I could like Bush's Beans is a big UT sponsor.
Pilot, I guarantee you, Flying J, Pilot Flying J is going to be on the 30-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, and that, again, here in South Carolina, somebody said I can see BMW do it. Yeah, call BMW, or whomever, and there's a lot of companies here, whether they're South Carolina based or they're international or whatever. There's a lot of, big money companies here. Yeah, get them involved. I was joking earlier with people. I say earlier last night. I was joking with a bunch of you on Twitter. We were having some fun with this with different sponsors. The Bernie's Chicken Kickoff. I said that's another Lizard's Thicket first down. Things like that. Those aren't allowed yet, but bring them on, man. I got no problem with that. Bring them on. I don't listen. Somebody said it's going to be all NASCAR'd up. That's not going to happen. But seriously, if there was a patch on one shoulder that's slightly bigger than a business card, but it could bring in, 5 or 6 figures over the course of a season, a good 5 figures, maybe 6 figures, maybe, I don't know how much yet. Again, I would love now to see those in the business, in the industry, begin to place valuation upon that. Because, and let's just be realistic here, selling a patch on a South Carolina jersey to a potential sponsor is going to cost less than when you sell it to than when Georgia sells it or Notre Dame sells it. Mm-hmm. And everybody gets that. That's not a knock. But what's the valuation? I don't know. What's it cost to put something on the 30-yard line at Williams-Brice relative to Sanford Stadium? And I just, but again, a small, I don't know, silver dollar sized sticker on the back of the helmet. I got no problem with that. Like right now, I think there's an SEC logo on the back of the helmet, and there's, I think, one on the jersey. Well, take the one off the helmet and put a sponsor there. I don't care. I mean,
love how the SEC has their logo everywhere as if we don't
yeah. I mean,
know
I think
exactly
everybody
what
knows by
conference
now.
we're playing in.
Yeah, you know which conference you're in, and if you got to put one on each side, I mean, it's on the back, but it's there. Do it. You need new revenue streams, unless the fans of all these schools want to continue to pony up more for NIL and the other things that go along with it. This is the way of the world. Again, baseball's doing it. Again, you're not going to turn into a NASCAR vehicle.
No.
You're not going to turn into a pro golfer. But new revenue streams are a must if you want to keep up. And now some of this is allowed. Right now it's just on field. I would open the door to more. That's the drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Maybe they can put one down there. Save $20,000 on a new Silverado. Together, let's drive. We'll wrap it up after this. Welcome back into the post-game show. I'll tell you why I'm laughing. Don't worry. Jay and Elijah with you. A bunch of you have sent some replies on Twitter for other potential sponsor moments at Williams-Brice and beyond. These are great. Jason says, that sack brought to you by Waffle House, so we got you smothered and covered. I like it.
That's good. I was thinking he was going to say Crystal, sack of sandwiches.
Sure, okay,
I
sure.
think they refer to
you got one. Brad, our buddy Brad Muller, that's an Oreo cookie slam dunk. Basketball,
That's
obviously,
good.
but that's good.
That's really good, yeah.
This one I like, and I responded to Roy. Roy says, Sandsbury Eye Center. But the logo gets smaller every week, so people think they need their eyes checked.
Oh, that's gold.
And I said back to him, gaslighting mixed with capitalism, you get it.
Sometimes they're synonymous. Let's be real with ourselves. But that one's too good. Whoever said that one is too good. Just put on the internet for free, buddy. You got to keep that idea in the back of your head, and you go to the athletics office right now and pitch that and make yourself some money and demand a cut of that. That's
or if
good.
you don't make it smaller, do you make it blurry or something? Like,
Absolutely.
What is that?
You get a little sloppier putting it on the field that way. People are having like
The gaslighting's better though. Make it smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the better way to do it. Albert says Todd can change his "Are you kidding me?" to "Hello, my friend," and have Andy's Deli, which again one of the great "Hello, my friend," "Hello, my dear" at Andy's Deli. I love Andy's. That's good, Albert. Thank you. A Firehouse substitution, says Steven.
Ooh.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Yes, I like that.
Any sub place at that point.
Substitution.
You know?
The substation substitution.
Trip says, a meet and 3 on 3rd and 2 brought to you by Lizard's Thicket. Or that's another Carolina hash brown brought to you by Waffle House. It's good. Let's see who else. Bring back the Rush's 100-yard rushing game. Sure. And Matt just says, honestly, the only way I would support this is if it's all local endorsements. And our buddy Michael Geddes says, could they just sell meet and 3 to-go plates at concessions? And I said, nah, what you need to do is have like a coupon. Like, you know how at basketball, in the second half, if the opponent misses back-to-back free throws, everybody gets Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah.
So if there's like at football, if there's a pick six, then you get like a meet and 3. Like, I don't know, something where you could incorporate some numbers.
A pick 6 one with a craft beer card.
Something like that.
6 different, like a pick 6 at a liquor store or whatever. You know, you could do that very easily.
Yeah. I like it. Thank you. These are all very good. I appreciate it. And again, I'm sorry to, who was the guy? Jason. Jason just said gross. And I said, sorry, bud, get used to it. You know?
This is what we're stuck with.
Yeah. And again, this guy says BMW on the field. Yeah. Got no problem with it. Steven asked which craft beer should have their logo on the field. And I said, well, Wicked Weed seems to have, it's,
that would look good on a football field.
Yeah. That's a cool, hop, like cone logo. So there you go. Jason says they'll be stickered up more than 80s NASCAR. Yeah, no, they won't be. But nevertheless, that's capitalism, man.
Yeah. See, that would get ugly. That would be tacky.
Yeah. Ryan says the argument that would you rather pay more for tickets or have advertising on the field is a fallacy. Just like everything else, it will not stop rising ticket prices. Also, the U.S. is not a 100% free economy. There are plenty of restrictions allowed. Ryan, dude. We're having some fun talking college football stuff. It's not.
This isn't that serious.
It's really not.
A lot of times when we do this, we're not being.
Listen. I don't think anybody said. I didn't say would you rather pay more for tickets. What I said was, this is an offset. And to be serious for a second, this is an offset to what's going to be the rising price of name, image, likeness at your school. That's what this is going to be for. I mean, these new revenue streams need to go to the places where the new revenue is most needed.
More dollars will result to more players.
And yes, of course, Ryan, tickets will go up because inflation goes up. Inflation's a thing.
It's going up regardless.
Yeah. I mean, inflation's a thing. So there's, but anyway, Ryan, buddy, it's Friday afternoon, man. It's Friday afternoon. Go have a Wicked Weed.
There you Or 3.
Or some other of your favorite craft beer. Or whatever beverage
I'll have multiple.
Floats your boat.
I'll do it for him. How about that?
Yeah. And this guy, who is it? Chase says, of course, soccer dorks are all in favor. Yeah, then I say, okay, or NASCAR, or F1, or IndyCar, or golf,
NBA,
or tennis,
MLB.
or the NBA, or Major League Baseball. It's all capitalism, dude. This is where we are.
This is how you get more good players.
You know, evolve or die. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll come follow all the baseball and see what happens on Monday. See ya.